Hi guys, this is Oshi and this is going to be a quick recap about my autumn fall decks because I realized that I didn't, think about Halloween and spooky season when I was setting up my monthly or seasonal system. So I kind of left all these decks because they mostly designated, my Octobery Halloween decks were mostly designated as winter decks after Halloween, which makes no sense. So I was thinking about pulling an early plug on the autumn section, which kind of sad because it has one of my favorite decks in this batch, but at the same time it's kind of exciting because I have some new decks on my table. So I'm also thinking about not necessarily sticking to such a rigid 3-month system, because when I originally came up with the idea, it was, to have more time to work with every deck that I select for that 3-month period, which is, I guess it's gonna be a usual thing, but it didn't happen because that was the case for summer decks as well, that I worked with certain decks that I had no time, or I don't want to say I didn't, want to work with decks, because I picked these decks out because I wanted to work with them, but for different reason I didn't have time, and it was the same for autumn as well. So I wanted to, quickly go through what I used, what I didn't use, and why I didn't use them. And then I'm going to make another one with all the Halloweeny and spooky decks for October. But firstly, let's start with. I don't think I'm going to go in any particular order because I have all the decks on my table right now, and I just have to make space to film this video. So I will try to include in the first batch the ones that I didn't use. It was one of them was the Goddess Temple, it is a lovely oracle, but something happened in the last, I would say, 2 months. I don't feel like working with oracles right now, which kind of funny in a haha kind of way. It's a beautiful oracle. I still think it's beautiful, and I know I will work with it at some point, I think. Because when I look at it, I'm like, oh, I want to pull cards from this deck because it's just so cool, and why did I not work with it? But like I said, I'm not feeling the oracle pool, so to speak, currently. I don't know why. Something just changed. I'm much more into using tarot for everything. Maybe I'm getting more comfortable with the tarot and how I read with the tarot. I was kind of thinking about that, but that was the reason why I wasn't really feeling oracles, and I had a main oracle out for this season, which was the Botanical. I'm sorry, that's the guidebook. Botanical Inspirations deck, which I even edged it, which I to match the back, and it looks perfect. And I wasn't really using this either. I mean, it looks beautiful on the table. It matches most of my decks. Why is it upside down? Who knows? And I was kind of ready to give up on this because there was especially one card, which obviously I won't find now because why would I? But there's one card that talks about stuff like the first emotion, no, the emotions of first love or something like that. I don't understand why it makes like this, but whatever. And I kind of got that card a lot, and I wasn't really able to use it as much as I was. First emotion of love, this one was kind of a lot. It was on my table a lot, and I was kind of feeling, reading into, how you're excited and how you feel butterflies and blah 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 when you first fall in love. I mean, you can use it in a reading, but I didn't have time to read the guidebook. And like I said, I was ready to. I'm not saying, get rid of it because I'm not in a mood, or I don't think I want to get rid of any decks. I gifted away two this season, the Morgan Greer's tin version, because that's a lovely deck. But I pretty much would have something else on my table that I would choose instead of that one. So what's the point keeping it? And I knew that someone else talked about that they would like to have it, so I sent it away because that was just much more meaningful to me as well. And the other one was the Wisdom of the Oracle, which I gifted to my sister because she likes to play around with decks, but she's not serious about them. And I think for someone like that deck is perfect because you get keywords, easily to use, you have a great guidebook. So that's hers now. And yeah, so I'm not gifting this one away, but I was kind of disappointed with the deck. But it's not the deck fault, it's just with oracles we have this expectation which kind of unfounded as I experience decks more and more, that an oracle is supposed to be used without the guidebook because you're supposed to have the most amazing keywords, and that's it. With tarot, we're willing to learn the meanings and everything. With oracle, we're like, nah, give me the easy route. And Boho Tarot, Damusha Boho Tarot made a video about this deck recently, and she talked about it, how she always used the guidebook with it. And when she talked about it and did a sample reading, I was like, okay, I guess I didn't give the deck as much chance as I should have. I planned to read all the guidebooks as well, but time. I didn't have time. I picked up Lenormand this fall season, and I'm in a study group, and I'm actually studying Lenormand, which takes away most of my time that I can, use for studying decks. So I'm gonna use that as an excuse for it. But yeah, we'll see. I think it's because I wasn't really in the mood for reading oracles anyway. That's why I didn't take the time, because I don't just read the guidebooks. I have this thing that I need to make notes. I don't know, would be nice if I didn't feel like that all the time, but I have, and that delays things a lot. And that was one of the reasons why I didn't even touch the Celtic Tree Oracle, because even though this is a lovely deck and I still think it's beautiful and I would love to learn the OM, I never know how to say that, system, I just simply had no time this season. I mean, 3 months sounds like a long time, except it's not. So yeah, I didn't touch that either. The Elemental Power Tarot was out on my table a few times. I used it in James's readings. I still love how it feels in the hand. I still think that this has the best pentacle suit ever, just how it looks. But I didn't really read with it, and I didn't have time to go through the guidebook either, so this goes back to the shelf and will come out when I have, I don't know, a month for a deck. I guess I will do that, from now on. Next year, I mean, I will do the wintry decks in the similar fashion, just to see which deck draws me in, because that's kind of interesting. I had my suspect list for decks that I will be using a lot for this fall season, and some surprised me. So yeah, one of them was still on the not really using. I mean, I feel kind of ashamed by now, but not really, because I'm not in a hurry, to work with decks in a way that, I didn't, work with it and now I just suck. I don't. I love this deck. I love the illustration style much more than the Druidcraft, to be honest. Look at that, how beautiful this is. But, and I know that, this can be used as a Rider-Waite Smith deck, because you can, just pull in those meanings with the with most of the names and stuff like that. But I also know that, but if I would use this deck, like you know, I was thinking about how to illustrate the difference. I could, if you know, let's say if this is watercolor, I can use it on regular paper with a regular brush. It will, you know, show up because it's paint, it's pigment. You will get a painting and at the end. But the difference between using watercolor on regular paper with a cheap as acrylic brush and a good watercolor paper with a nice brush is just heaven and earth. You know, that's just so, it's just too much. You can't, you know, even compare them. And I kind of feel like I don't want to diminish the importance or the possibilities that this deck has just because I don't have, you know, I don't have the time to go through the guidebook and actually learn the cards yet. So it goes back to the box again, which kind of sucks because I was so excited because I was sure that I would have time to, you know, work with it. But I didn't. So yeah, that sucks. What else? I kind of had both my Dragon's Oracle on the table, and like I said, I wasn't in the mood for oracles, but these are dragon decks, so I mostly use them for my weekly well-being readings. They were featured there quite a few times. I still think they are really cute, but I might not keep them on my table right now because I mean, this deck feels more of a spring deck anyway, but I was sure that I would want to use it because it's dragons and I wasn't, so what's the point? Am I right? The StarDragon is a more darker, more autumny, wintry feel to me, so this might you know, stay out for the next season. Look at that, this perfect autumn, going with the flow, returning. But I'm not sure, because what's the point keeping oracle decks out if you don't use them? And it's not like, you know, they are locked away in a you know, in a chained cabinet where, you know, like in the Middle Ages. So I can, you know, pull them out if I, you know, feel like I'm really missing something from the table. And now you're starting to wonder what the actual F I used, because I am showing you all the decks and it's more than 10 minutes now that I didn't use. So let's pull a few. Okay, sorry, before that, 2 playing cards, Royal Mischief and my friend's playing card. I didn't do anything with playing cards, so those gonna go away as well. But what I started to use, like I said, is Lenormand. I have the Celtic Lenormand deck, which I got it, if I can open it, because there's no thumb cuts in the box, which I don't. Okay, no one can justify me. That's for me. So I started to work with it, but the study group is only at 10th card, so I only selected, you know, a rider, and I think the option was for a 3 so far. So I haven't decided which birds I'm gonna use or child or stuff like that. But to be honest, with Lenormand, even though I got it for the guidebook because Kelly from Truth in Story suggested this deck as a great beginner's deck, we settled on the Essential Lenormand deck as a study group deck book. Sorry, not that book. And I kind of like that book, and I'm mainly focusing on learning from that, so I'm not that attached to the Celtic Lenormand, and I'm using to practice and whatever my own little handmade, no fuss, you know, just the words and the playing cards and the numbers deck, which I made and I really like. It's not perfect because some stuff like the clouds are supposed to and it's stars, not star, but whatever. You know, it helps if there's you know, a dark and a light clouds on it, which I didn't know when I was making this one, even though this is just a practice deck. So, but I like the size. It's really small and easy to use, and I like how it looks because, you know, I made it in a way that I like it, obviously. So I'm mostly practicing with that one. And I'm not sure which Lenormand deck I will pick up. I'm having a feeling that I'm gonna make myself one because it's easy. And now that I know how much cheaper to order a deck from, you know, if you make one for yourself from Make Playing Cards than getting it locally printed, I might just go with that option at some point. But I'm not running, you know, I'm not rushing that because I want to know all the orientational and directional things in the cards that can be used and should be used, or, you know, whatever, because it's a different kind of system than tarot. So that was one that I used as Lenormand. No one is going to be surprised that my main deck for the month and the season was the Occasion Thorn. I mean, if you're surprised, then this is your first video with me, and then thank you so much for watching. But yeah, why is this Eight of Swords? It's reversed. I love the art style. I love the I just love everything about it, and I still haven't even studied the guidebook. So it's a very interesting deck for me because look at the snail. I'm sure that, you know, there are even more in the guidebook, and I want to study the guidebook, but I just love playing around with it. I love using it. I get readings out of it easily. It works. People love it because, you know, it's not a scary deck, and because you know, there's animals in it. Most people don't have a problem with animals. I mean, these type of animals anyway. So yeah, I used it, and the only reason that I'm putting this away because the dragon deck is going to come at some point, probably in October, as much as I heard, even though I don't know when I will actually get it, because I'm not going to order it to Hungary because the post office sent back the Hero Rise masculine archetype deck, even though I did everything that I was supposed to do. I was just waiting for them to tell me how much I need to pay for it, and then they were like, nope, we sent it back, and stuff like that. There's just a lot of problems, so I don't want to risk it, you know, getting lost, because that's just, no, it's too important. That deck is too important for me to risk it, so I'm gonna suffer because everyone else will get it probably sooner than me. But I will ask a friend in the UK, and I'm gonna order it there, and when they visit next year, or maybe hopefully at the end of this year, I'm gonna get the deck. But, you know, it's worth waiting for. And yeah, I rather wait for a few months and suffer, because yeah, I'm gonna suffer, trust me, than, you know, risk it, you know, getting lost or anything, even though I would, you know, I was ready to pay a bunch of money to get it in time, which kind of sucks. I don't know what happened with the post office in the last few months, why they decided that sabotaging their own practice or, you know, company is a good thing, but it looks like a worldwide thing. So yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. Another one that I really used a lot, and I was expecting to use a lot, and I started to go through the guidebook, but stopped because, you know, I switched to Lenormand, is the Llewellyn Tarot. It's lovely. I mean, for me, it's a summery, autumny, harvest season deck, to be honest. And that used to be September, you know, harvest season, how the weather was. But it's I don't know. I don't even know if we have that weather anymore. We kind of had like a week of it, which kind of sucks. But yeah. So this is a lovely one. I bought it already trimmed, but I, you know, edged it and I put some gold even on the edges. So yeah, this is lovely, and yeah, I used it a lot, which was nice. You know, I was kind of hoping that it would be a deck that I use a lot, but I wasn't sure. Another one which lives in this bag because I got it, you know, without its official box, which I don't mind. And I trimmed by accident completely titleless, but who cares, is the Druidcraft Tarot, which I use it more and I liked it more than I expected it. I was kind of curious about this deck because, you know, a lot of people talks about this deck, how awesome it is. And like I said, I like the Wildwood Tarot a lot more, illustration-wise, even though it's the same illustrator. I like the style and the illustration a lot more in that one. But it's still a great deck, so yeah, it was on my table a lot. Also edged it in that same shimmery matte gold. I don't know if the camera can pick it up because we have a gloomy autumn day today. But yeah, this was on my table a lot. What else? Even though I didn't use a lot of oracles, but I had that, like I said, weekly well-being that I devised the spread with oracles. So one of them was the Forest Way, which the walkthrough and the flip through went live just recently. And I didn't use it as much as I wanted to because I was kind of in the really strong Fae attraction phase, I guess, when the season started. But I kind of put a hold on that in a way. I don't know. And yeah, so I didn't use it a lot, but it's a great little deck, and I was definitely happy to pick it up. I wanted to have one of these for, you know, these small ones for each season, but I don't think I need more than what I have. I have one for spring, and now I have one for, you know, autumn, and that's enough. And the other one, there's not a lot left. The oracle that I most used, I think, besides the Botanical, because even though I didn't use it a lot, I was still playing with it, was this, even though this is part of the, you know, summer selection, but because I got it at the end of that season, I kept it out on my table and I used it a lot, and this just works so nicely. I love the colors, I love the keywords. I can always pick one of these, you know, in a reading to focus on. I had this card, interestingly. The waters, relief, rejuvenation, and rest come up a lot in readings. So I guess we were, as in, you know, collective or whatever, in need of rest a lot in the past few months, which is kind of understandable. So yeah, that was one that I used. And I still think it looks really cool, you know, this whole book thing that's going on with this one. Another one was also a recent, you know, acquisition. Happy acquisition is the Majestic Earth. I just love this deck. This deck works so nicely. I mean, I can get readings out of it so easily, even though it's quite a big, but I could still shuffle it. I mean, I don't care. I deal with how I'm shuffling it. And I mean, look at these. And I left the elemental cards in it as well. So when they come up, I just put them on top of the reading and pull another card. But I focus on what that element brings into the reading. And yeah, it just works. It works well. I get so much out of it, even more than I, you know, expected. I never expected to work with, you know, mostly landscape paintings so well, but I mean, I used to like them, so it's not like it was a surprise that I like the paintings, but I didn't know that they would work so well as a tarot deck, but it does. Or they do. And the last one, which was a surprise how much I actually really loved it, is the Hush Tarot. Honestly, I said it in the walkthrough, which I think is up already, that when I first got it, yeah, I don't really like these lovers cards for some reason, but I don't really see it often. I see this card more often on my table. So when I first, saw it, I was instantly drawn to the art style, but there were so many cards that I differ from the Rider Smith that I was like, I wouldn't be able to work with it. So it just looks so nice. For example, so I don't know who talked about this in a recent video, and they showed this card that, if you hide the title and the number, you would never guess that this is the Nine of Cups. And I agree. But once you know that this is the Nine of Cups, you start thinking about what the Nine of Cups means, how much work you have to do to reach that happiness. You have to fight off other people's jealousy, and when they try to sabotage you, and you're not a perfect vessel when you reach that place. You have holes, you're old, you're rusted a bit, but it doesn't mean that you can't bloom this beautiful flower out of you. And I think that just works so well for me, because with the difference in this deck, with the difference imagery, I was able to always pull another layer at least on top of the basic meaning with these cards, and I just love that. So, and yeah, I love this tower. I wasn't put off by the death in these cards. I just wasn't sure if they had, when I was, looking at this deck, I wasn't sure if it was just a big jumble of, paintings trying to masquerade as a tarot deck, or someone actually made an effort to, consciously put this together. And I think this is one of those things that you won't know until you start working with the deck. So I'm very happy that I actually decided to work with this, even though this is I have to change it to the green, because yeah, it bothers me. It's not a green. I mean, it's not a page. The page is the green, and it's just, yeah, that's the only thing that I would love to have, officially changed, I think, but whatever. I love the back as well. I didn't edge it, and I don't think I will. I kind of like how it feels in the hand and how it looks. But this is so far a seasonal deck, but I'm kind of feeling like that once I move out of my seasonal system, this will be on my table all the time, because it just works so well. And I know that a lot of people, might not like a reading with this deck, but it reads so well for me, so, I'm gonna use it. And yeah, I think those are, that was all of the decks that I wanted to show you. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, see you in the next one, which is going to be the one about the spooky ones. Bye!